All right. I request all our guests to stay on with us. As Prime Minister Modi has made his final appeal to the members of parliament, let's quickly look at the 3 bills which will be voted upon by the MPs in the Lok Sabha. The 3 bills are the following: the Constitution Bill 2026, which is the primary bill to bring 33% reservation to women. This is a constitutional amendment bill. It has been divided into 4 parts. The first part is delimitation on the basis of population, which means that each state will have seats in proportion to its population. The second part, the bill removes the requirement to carry out delimitation after each census. The Constitution then provides that Lok Sabha will have a maximum of 550 members, with up to 530 members from states and up to 20 members from union territories. But this bill increases the maximum number to 850 members of parliament, with 815 members from states and up to 35 members from union territories. And the last part of this particular bill is commencement of reservation for women. The 106th Constitutional Amendment in 2023 introduced reservation of 1/3 of seats in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies for women, and this is precisely what the bill now aims to introduce and convert into the Act. If you're wondering what a constitutional amendment bill is, it's the following. It's a proposal to change, add or remove any provision of the Indian Constitution. It is the formal process through which the Constitution is updated to reflect changing political, social and economic realities. Whether it's about fundamental rights, the functioning of the government or federal structures, any such changes to the Constitution require a constitutional amendment bill. If you're also wondering, why is this different from any other bill? Like I said, it's a constitutional amendment bill, therefore it's very different. But if you're wondering how it's passed, well, here's the process. The process happens in 3 clear stages, viewers. Step 1, introduction. A constitutional amendment bill can be introduced in either house of the parliament, the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. It can be moved by a minister or even a private member, unlike some other bills. It does not require the president's prior permission to be introduced. Second, of course, is the passage in both houses. This is the most crucial stage. The bill must be passed separately by both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. There is no provision for a joint sitting in case of a deadlock, which means consensus in both houses separately is essential. Each house has to pass the bill with a special majority. In some cases where federal features are involved, it also needs a ratification by at least half of the state legislatures. And the third part of this is the presidential assent. After both houses pass the bill, it is sent to the president. The president cannot withhold assent or return the bill. Once the president gives assent, the bill becomes a constitutional amendment act and comes into force. Now, if you're wondering what is a special majority, it's actually a stricter form of approval than a simple majority. It has 2 conditions. First, the bill must be supported by a majority of the total strength of the House. And secondly, it must also be passed by at least 2/3 of the members present and voting. So viewers, in the current Lok Sabha, and let's quickly take our touch screens here. We will now explain the strength of the current Lok Sabha before I go back to my guests. What is the current strength? What is the total strength, and how will this be impacted? So we're now going to look at the numbers game, which will play out at 4 p.m. today. The Lok Sabha's total strength, viewers, is 545. 543 elected and 2 nominated. The current strength stands at 544. There's 1 vacant seat. If all the members are present and voting, then the bill, which is a constitutional amendment bill, would require at least 362 members to pass this bill. Now let's look at where the numbers actually stand. The NDA, which is the BJP plus, stands at 293. The India bloc, which is the Congress plus, stands at 234, and others, non-aligned, stands at 18. NDA, as per this calculation, is currently short of 70 votes to hit that 362 mark. So what are some of the permutations and combinations, right? we need to understand the difference between a simple majority and a special majority. The primary difference lies in the denominator of the calculation. In a simple majority, viewers, it just requires 50% of the members present and voting. So if there are 100 members present in the House and only 60 show up to vote, it requires a simple majority, which is essentially 31 members to vote yes for a bill to be passed. This is used in ordinary bills, money bills, or even admitting a new state to the union. But a special majority is required for constitutional amendment bills, the CABs as they're called. And this is a provision under Article 368. As I've mentioned earlier, this is a twofold requirement. Number one is absolute majority, more than 50% of the total membership of the House. And secondly, 2/3 majority of those present and voting. Keep that in mind. So two thresholds need to be cracked by the NDA today. Absolute majority, 50% of the total membership of the House, and 2/3 majority of those present and voting. What's going to happen? If we're looking at 543 members, in fact, we're looking at 544 currently, to pass a constitutional amendment bill, you would require 272 votes bare minimum. Now, of course, that's possible because the NDA bloc itself has 293. It is upon the BJP to then, of course, convince some of the southern parties, such as the TDP, to ensure that their members are present and voting yes. But this should not be essentially a problem for the Bharatiya Janata Party. Where it becomes a little tricky is when the House is full, which is what we are likely to expect today, which is the 2/3 requirement. So if the House is full, which means 543 members are present and voting, then 2/3 of that essentially becomes the 362 number, the golden number that we told you, of which the ruling party is 70 short. So like I said, for the bills today, when you're watching at 4 o'clock, the counting taking place, these are the numbers that we need to look at. The ruling party needs 272 to hit the absolute majority mark, and then they need 362 to hit the 2/3 mark if all members of parliament are present and voting. But let's take a scenario where certain members are absent from the Lok Sabha. Total membership 543, present, for example, 100 members today are absent, they decide to walk out. That makes the present members 543, absentees are 100. In this case as well, the bill has to pass the two tests separately. So number one, the absolute majority, which remains fixed. Okay, remember that the absolute majority remains fixed. So even if 100 people are missing, the 272 votes, yes votes, are essential. But the 2/3 majority becomes a variable here, wherein we're going to take the base now as 543 and we're going to take out the 2/3 majority of 543, which comes to 296 votes. So overall, the government would need still 296 votes for the bill to pass in the Lok Sabha. Then, of course, comes the hurdle of the Rajya Sabha, where we're going to stick to the Lok Sabha today. What if someone abstains, which is a common practice? You're present, you don't want to walk out, but you want to abstain. If a member of parliament abstains, it effectively becomes a no for a constitutional amendment bill, and I explain to you how. Let's assume that there are 543 members present. There are 100 members who are absent, 543 present. 43 of these members decide to abstain. Only 400 members are then present and voting. The 2/3 requirement in this case out of 400 drops to 267. But the bill fails because the absolute majority threshold, 272 mark, is still required for the bill to pass in the Lok Sabha. So this is why, viewers, it is extremely tricky, and that's the reason why the government is putting out, the Prime Minister is putting out multiple appeals over and over again. I want to bring back